Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We go ahead and get started on this work session. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing good? Thanks for being here. So on Monday, November 25, invocation, we have down Will Dennis. Are you good with that, Will? Thank you. And then we have Leslie Overman for the pledge. You good? Fantastic. So I'm going to move down here to what we need to cover right now is I'd like to ask the mayor if he has anything he needs to address the commission about the site. You're good? Okay. Then we're going to move on down to active business here and installation of new commissioners. So we got a new commissioner with us tonight, Mr. Jeff Gregory, everybody. All right. Welcome. Glad to have you, man. And also he's agreed to serve on codes and zoning and public works with us. So he's going to be on those two subcommittees. So we're, like I said, we're blessed to have him. So then coming on down here to our resolutions that we're going to have to deal with this month. 2024-19-816, which I think is going to be found on in your packets on, one second, my page is stuck together. It's on page 14, and that's the THDA home policies, procedures, and we've got to, that's something we're going to have to adapt. So we'll be covering that. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, moving on. Then resolution 2024-2817 is just literally just moving a surplus vehicle the sheriff has to the drug task force. And that's on, let's see, the details of that you will find on page 15 of your book. Anybody have any questions on that? Mr. Gully?
Backing up one, has that resolution been through any committee on the TDA home program?
Sorry, what was that?
Backing up one,
Right.
has the TDA, has that resolution been through any committee?
No.
Has not.
Is there a reason it wasn't sent to committee?
Which committee would it need to go to?
That's what I was asking. It would usually be like a steering committee piece to move that along. What exactly is inside that? I hadn't had to, honestly, there's not much information here. I know there's got a link to it, but.
So
what's in it?
as with previous home grants, it's basically the way the grant administration has to run that grant. It is how they publish the public notices for the applicants, how the scoring happens for the applicants, and just how the grant is run. So it's really not even in our purview to change any of that. That's just the policies and procedures of this grant program.
100% grant related, correct?
Are we good? Okay, thank you. So going back to 2024-2817, the surplus vehicle for the sheriff to the drug task force, which you will find on page 15, I believe it is, of your packet. Everybody has a chance to take a look at that. Is there any questions on that? Any discussion?
Is this for a new agent or is it up and running good now, Sheriff, or?
Any other discussion? Okay, thank you. Then we have resolution 2024-21-818, which is the Broadway property transfer to the state. And I'd like to ask if our counsel, Mr. Beller, would please speak to that.
On your table, you're going to see a little the map and drawing where we're talking about. This is the 201 Broadway. This is right there, the bridge, and it's that's the former residence of Jerry Thigpen. Of course, the building's been demolished, and what the John Lentz with the right-of-way team of the Tennessee Department of Transportation, they've asked us to, they're requesting we donate that property to them for their use, in order to do their construction and what they need to do. They've advised that in doing so, what it does, it actually speeds up the process. I talked to John last week about it, and of course, otherwise, it's a construction easement, but it could cause a bit of delay in the process in doing that. As far as the utility of that property, it's, it is what it is, but they're just asking us to donate it, and that's what you have, the resolution in your packet. To donate that property so they can use that. Of course, it would become theirs at that point. That's not to say that we can't use it at some point, but we may have to get a license to do that with if we ever decided to do that. So, anyone have any questions?
I was reading that they said donated for 3 years, so I was making the assumption we're gonna get it back in 3 years.
Well, that's one option. They have a construction easement, 3 years. That's how long they anticipate the process would be. When they've indicated that if we do it the other way, just donate it to them, it'll be their property, be the Tennessee Department of Transportation's property. They just ask us to do that. From one perspective, you could say, well, it's still taxpayer dollars, but it's going from a different source. That's all.
Mr. Gregory?
And I said, just to follow up on Judy's question, I was going to ask too, are we going to get that property back? 'Cause I know the previous mayor, I think, had before mentioned maybe using that, turning that into a parking lot to try to help with some of the downtown parking issues. And I would hate to lose something that might be useful to us down the road.
Well, if we donate it, no. But if that's what the will of the commission is, then certainly we can explore that issue with.
Do you need to be recognized? Okay, go ahead.
If they want it in their name or whatever it takes to use it if they're full, everything they need during that time period. But, I mean, a whole house was there. Once they're finished, why would we want TDOT to own some land in the middle of our downtown?
All legitimate concerns. So, I'm just kind of telling you what they've offered, and they've indicated that it would speed up the process of getting the structure they're working on. And
Could we change it to read, we'll give them full control of that land during the time of construction, but then at the end, we get it back? However that would legally be worded. I mean, so it would be, Charles County's land afterwards.
certainly we can give them a construction easement. They're gonna have a construction easement in order to do the work they're doing. So at some point, they've gotta have that, and they've indicated it'd just be a temporary construction easement.
I
Is what
think
they would have. So, if that's the will of the body, then certainly we can always go back to them and tell them what the county commission has decided, and if that's what this body wants to do, and tell them we'd give them a construction easement. Now, of course, understand in doing so that according to what they've indicated to us, that would certainly create a delay in the process in doing that, but that's, I'm just reporting back to what their position on the matter is. I'm sure it's got to do with possibly the what they would want in the way of maybe, compensation to us. It could have to do with their, don't know exactly, but I could talk to them.
Thank you. We're going to move on. Commissioner Gully.
I guess my only question here was, there'd been some discussion of when the sidewalk was completed through there, having a walking or walkway from there up to the Ward School piece that's going on. In doing so, if, I don't see myself, I understand that it's property that the county owns, would be losing those pieces. We do understand that there's going to have to be some work done on the side of that bank there, and I think it is beneficial to our county not to lose that bridge for a while. If that need to be done at a quicker pace, it's probably beneficial to us. However, if we plan to try to move forward with something with that walk pathway area from that sidewalk up through to the Ward School area, we need something written in this that gives us that right of way to access that property as we move in that direction.
Thank you. So I believe what we're asking is just clarification on the land post project.
I'll reach out to Mr. Wentz
Thank you so
again this
much.
week.
Is there any other questions? Okay. So we're going to move on to ordinances. We've got 3/12/2024-12. It's a second reading for rezoning from R2 to R3. Do we have any questions on that? Okay, and then we'll also have a first reading, ordinance 3/13/2024-13. It's a rezone R2 to R3 River Valley. Miss Rosalie, would you like to speak to that for us, please?
Yes, good evening. So this came before the Planning Commission back on November 4th, and it did receive a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. What you're looking at is a little over an acre, and they're wanting to take it to R3. It's right next to the parcel of land that was rezoned R3 and is currently in construction for 10 townhome units, excuse me. So it's right next to that. So there is an R3 piece of property right next to that. There is R3 across River Street. Any questions? Thank you.
All righty, so now we've got our budget amendments to go over this month. I'd like to see if Mr. Gully would like to speak to these.
Certainly. First off, the first one you see there is the grant funds carryover 10107G grant funds carryover 2022 CBDG and LP RG. Those were favorable. It's grant funds being moved around there in a way. Favorable recommendation from the committee. Any questions on that one? We can discuss further if we need to. Your next one is going to make a change. It will numbering will stay the same, I believe, but it will not have the F on it. Does everybody hear that part? Remove the F there. It will not be a fund balance draw. That will be was passed with a motion to move the SRO expenses out of the sheriff's budget number. Give me a second, a few pages to turn here. So instead of that being a fund balance draw on the 101, the sheriff's department has purchased some equipment for their SROs. The discussion was on the SRO grant that comes to the county for 3 officers already. That money has been allocated entirely. I think the sheriff even mentioned that it came out to almost dead on $3 off or something of that nature, plus or minus last year on each of those, on one of those positions. So very closely managed on that piece. This equipment that has been purchased would come out of the sheriff's 54-110 line item 431 and move transfer into 54-120. 54-120 is the line item for SROs. So in other words, instead of it being a fund balance draw, it is a draw from the sheriff's department bottom line versus an additional move from fund balance into the sheriff's. Is everybody clear on that one? It's still purchasing equipment for SROs. Whether you spend it out of the sheriff's now or you get the money back from him later, he always turns money back in at the end of the year well, so it matters not where at this time, but that is what the approved piece for that was. The next one, 10109 insurance recovery is just, what it says. It's an insurance recovery of a vehicle that was damaged. It was favorably recommended. The next, is if you notice that 11103R reserve funds, from the 111, for a truck. That truck is the waste collection truck. If you'll look there, originally approved in 2024 budget. As you've noticed in the past, it has not been yet billed, so it's moving to this year. I think the truck was ordered, but as we've learned, it takes a while to get things that we order. We better be thinking ahead if we have to. Hopefully nothing breaks. At this point, that is 400,000 of that dollars in that reserve fund. So it was already budgeted, already has been taken care of, that 400,000. It's just being moved into this budget, current year budget. The other piece is the traffic lights. If I understood this correct there, if you see it's at Andrews Avenue and Broadway. That was money already spent on those. It's reserve funds, billing expenses. Favorably approved by the commission. Any questions there? The next two are, well, we'll do one as a grant. Generally, it'd be my opinion, if it says grant on it, it's probably going to be beneficial in some way. It may cost us a little, but it's got some help and benefit. A grant was approved there. It's for the after school. I'm sorry, this one was for the early childhood education program. It is a preschool program. Is where that one's going. It was approved favorably. Any discussion, questions? The next, when you see that word LEAPS there, it's a school transfer as well. The LEAPS is the after-school program, LEAPS After School Academy, an amount of $28,000. It does say retention, bonus retention, revenue in the amount of $28,000 for the child care implementation staff retention grant funds to be given to give retention bonuses for teachers that return to work with the LEAPS after-school program for this year, as well as the other pieces there for it. Any questions? If not, that is all of the budgeted amendment pieces. I will mention, if it be all right now, there was some discussion to bring everybody on board that we may have learned that we've done a good job not spending the money and trying to hold some money, but it would appear that we are going to have an ARPA deadline. We've got somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000 unaccounted, and I should not say unaccounted for, what's the word I'm missing? Obligated. There's the word I was looking for. Not obligated at this time. And there is a deadline looking like right now. There's some unknowns still here, but a deadline of December 31st of this year that money will have to be obligated for. There was some good discussion. At this time, we need more information before we can make any decisions on what to do with that money. Straightforward. There was some really good discussion, some really good ideas, and I think we've given Miss Amy some opportunities with what to ask and hoping that we get that answer. It was brought to our attention. This may have to happen in a special call meeting in December as well, just to ensure we don't lose $450,000. Any discussion? All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you explaining that to us. All righty. So it would appear that just about wraps up what we've got on this, for this next session. Do we have any announcements or anything? Anybody have anything they'd like to bring forward? Mr. Gregory.
Just a question. I know the guy from Spirit was, of course, was at our last meeting, and I think the commission had indicated at the time we'd like to have a special work session with them to deal into that stuff. Have we had any more discussions on timeframe on that?
No, we just got the new subcommittee reappointed for buildings, and so I'd imagine that'll be on their early agenda. So we'll be looking forward from some communication from them on that, I'm quite sure. All right, thank you so much. Does anybody else, anybody got anything else? No? All right. What's that? Is there anybody here from the public like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
From the River Valley area, and I know y'all are starting to rezone.
Can you state your name for us, please?
Lonnie Geezy. There's a cause and effect. If you keep moving too much upward, there's a natural drain, and there's a worry about what that natural flow of water and drain water will do. And my question was, has there been any studies or anybody actually do the job for that to assess the cause and effect of the change of the topography to the lower units of everybody's property down through there? Because if you allow more than one home, they're gonna have to put more and more dirt to fill out, and they'll close in the natural drain, and that causes that water to shift somewhere else. Which, at that point, who's liable for the damage for somebody else's property because you moved the drain water? Because the water's gonna cut away at somebody's property.
Understood. Is that something that needs to come before codes and zoning?
No, that actually would be addressed during the site plan of whatever project was to be put on that property. You know, whether this body wants multifamily to be allowed on that property is the only thing for us.
Okay.
Water drain off, runoff, the layout of the land, of how the construction is going to be done, all that comes before planning and will be looked at through the site review system.
Thank you for clarification. So that'd be something to go before planning then. Thank you, sir. Does anybody else have anything? Nope. Motion to adjourn? All right. Do you have a second there? All right. Thank you. Have a good day.